I mean, the reason why I say I should have realized that they suspected me already then was like one of the cops was asking me like, what is it? What is it that you saw? What is it that like I must have realized something, or like I must have known something? And I was just like, no, I mean, like she was stabbed to death, like. And I got super creeped out. I had to leave the house. I couldn't be in there anymore. And then when they took me back to the police office, I just slumped there. And I just spent a lot of time in the police office. They asked me to be there. And where else was I going to go? Like, really, where else was I going to go? I didn't have a house anymore. I was there with Raphael, and he was there. But I mean, what else was I going to do? Like, after that happens, it redefines like everything. Like, someone's been murdered, so all of a sudden classes don't seem so important anymore. I went to class on Monday, but all I could think about was this. And when somebody in class asked, like, can we talk about what happened and the murder that happened, I was like, can we please not? Because it was my roommate, and I'm not supposed to talk, and I can't. And I told the teacher beforehand, like, if I get a call in class, it's not because I'm trying to be rude, but it's probably the police, and I'm going to need to go back. And because I was getting used to them just asking me to come in for hours on end, and they would question me about, they would show me pictures where Meredith was in groups of people and want me to identify people, and they like just they wanted to know everything. They wanted to know where Meredith went to get her groceries, who she ever met, and they were really focusing on me to answer those questions. And I just assumed it was because I was the roommate who was closest to her, so I would know her habits much more so than anyone else. Like, I would know what time she came in during the night, for instance. I would know these things. I've talked to her. I mean, they were asking me things as intimate as what was her sex life like. Like, I just thought that they thought I knew everything. Mm-hmm. And I felt really responsible for giving them answers. So I spent every waking moment thinking about it, trying to remember if there was some detail that I had overlooked, and because they kept asking that too, like, remember the details. There might be one small thing that might seem insignificant to you will mean everything to the case. And so, like, I just racked my brain hour after hour and day after day by the end of it, trying to think of what was the answer. Like, how did this happen? Why did this happen? Who did this? And I couldn't think of anything. It was so angering. And I remember, like, my other roommates, I met them once. They were staying with another friend of theirs. Raphael took me over to their place one evening, and like, they sat there and we talked about it and everything, but they didn't seem as, like, interested as I was in knowing the truth. Because I kept sitting there with them going, like, how could this be possible? Did something, like, who would do this, and who would break in and then not steal anything but then kill her, and why would they kill her? Like, I just could not stop thinking about it. And they kept saying, well, the police are going to find out, and it's really sad. And I was just like, no, like that, like, it's not enough. Like, what happened? And so, like, there was just this, I mean, we made plans to find another place together, because at that point we were homeless, and they were, for instance, Philomena was worried about getting her computer back, like, of all things. She wanted her computer back, and I mean, I had nothing. Like, and it didn't that wasn't my primary concern at that point. So anyway, I don't even remember the question anymore.
I can understand. Let us go on to the time frame between the arrest and the trial beginning itself. What was it like staying in limbo like that?
I thought I was going to get out at any moment. I was in seclusion, so I felt like a zoo animal a lot of the time, because the female prison and a lot of the prisons, in fact a lot of prisons in general, are not really equipped for the circumstances that arise. In this particular female prison, there were no different sections. The only section that was actually separate was for prisoners who were mothers and had their young children with them. Everyone else was clumped together. The rapists, the murderers, the thieves, all of them, the prostitutes, and because, well, they said it was for my protection, because they said that, and maybe it could be. I mean, it could be. Part of it could have been protection, because fresh meat is fresh meat. So I was kept separately. I couldn't participate. Like I couldn't go outside with all the other girls. I had to go to this separate little courtyard where I just walked in circles. And so I say I felt like a zoo animal because that little courtyard that I was in was surrounded by, on one side it was a wall, and then on 3 sides it was bars and glass, and people just walked by and looked at me, and there was nowhere that I could hide. There was nowhere that I could curl up in a ball and cry without somebody pouncing on me. The only ones who I didn't mind looking at were the kids. And that stunned me. Like, what are kids doing? Like, toddlers, what are they doing walking around the halls of a prison? And they would stop and just stare at me through the bars. I started having, like, they were something that made my day have a highlight to it, because I looked forward to making them laugh. And because they're something that I recognize. Like, in this place where everything is completely unrecognizable, I know kids. Like, I'm the oldest of my generation, and I have lots of sisters and lots of cousins. So I know kids. And then, I mean, what is the first month, year in prison like? I didn't know what was happening. I didn't understand what was happening to me. Especially the way people treat you. I mean, the first 2 weeks that I was there, I was being sexually harassed by one of the higher up guys in the prison, and I didn't know what to do. Like, he just wouldn't stop talking to me about it, and I just didn't know what to do. I would just just don't know what to do. And I kept thinking, like it's all going to be worked out, like it's all just a big mistake. And I felt like I was at fault. Like I felt like somehow I deserved it because of what happened during my interrogation. Like somehow it was just this huge misunderstanding and it was going to be okay. They just had to figure out the misunderstanding. And so I kept telling myself that, like, it's just a misunderstanding. It's all just this huge misunderstanding. I'm just going to sit here and be quiet and wait. And when you are innocent of something, you think that freedom is right around the corner every second, because at any second they could realize it. And to have that door close on you second after second after second. I mean, in those months, they started gathering the evidence. And I was constantly being told, you know, as soon as they get the evidence, it's gonna... So at first I thought, okay, well, as soon as we meet the judge the first time, they're gonna realize it's a big mistake and I'll be free. And then after that didn't work, then it was like, well, as soon as they get this piece of evidence, then you're gonna go free. And when that didn't work, as soon as these forensic results come back, you're gonna be let out. And that didn't happen. Instead, they kept talking about a knife that I knew was impossible. It was impossible that it had Meredith's DNA on it. It was just impossible. And so when they told me that, that's what I said. It's impossible. Like, I'm sorry. You're either lying to me or it's a big mistake. But you need, first of all, I mean, it was this same prison person who showed me the article. And he was like, what do you have to say about this? And I looked at it and I said, that's not true. And he said, it is true. So what do you have to say about it? And I kept saying him, it's impossible. Like, you're just wrong. Like, that's a fake article that you're showing me that says that there's a knife that has Meredith's DNA on it. And so, of course, my lawyers, they said that it's a mistake, and we're gonna prove it's a mistake. We just have to wait until the investigation's over. And so at that point, it was like, okay, well, now I have to wait till the investigation's over. But then I'll be free. And, you know, in the meantime, we're going to make all these requests about home arrest or arrest in a community that's not prison, but like an enclosed community where usually they throw drug addicts. No. Amanda's a monster. Amanda is a psychopath. Amanda... yeah, those are the, you know, there's the reasons. They have to have reasons for denying your requests. You know, besides, you know, me being an American, and so there's the possibility of fleeing somehow. There's the Amanda's a monster part. How that was just like this gratuitous thing. Like, oh yeah, Amanda's a monster, psychopath, split personality, can't trust anything she says, a liar, sex addict, drug addict, just, you know, gratuitously there. And in the meantime, what's happening to my family? I was supposed to meet my mom the day following my interrogation. And I obviously didn't make it to the train station to pick her up. And I kept thinking that she was going to be so scared of all times for me to be not reachable. Like, my roommate had just been murdered. Like, how does she know that I haven't just been murdered? Like, of all times for me to be unreachable, like, this is the unacceptable time. And until I saw her, I was so scared for her, for how scared she was going to be. Like, my mom does not take it well when you don't answer her phone call. Like, she needs to know you're alive, and I couldn't do that. And then them not knowing what to do. Like, that's a crazy thing, because when I was still a kid when this happened, and I really needed my parents there for me to, like, tell me that it was going to be okay. But what the hell did they know? Like, they didn't know it was going to be okay. So, like, me now, 26 years old, empathizing with them in a way that in the only way that you can when you get, like, at least a little distance between being a kid and an adult. Like, what was that like? And I mean, I know my mom lost a lot of weight because she couldn't eat. She was so stressed out. God, a really interesting thing is how this affects everyone around the person. Because it's one thing to, like, talk about PTSD with me. Like, it's one thing that it changes you because you were in the middle of it. But damn, it changes you when you're right there next to somebody too. And I think that goes underrepresented as far as acknowledgement goes. My mom made a joke when I came back that really bothered me. Made me angry at her and also angry at everything, and not angry at her and just sad and angry at myself. It was just this joke. She joked that while I was going through that thing, Valium was her best friend. I actually, like, was really upset. Because Valium should never be anyone's best friend, first of all. And so I was angry at the situation because it had put my mom through that. And then I was angry at my mom because I went through prison without taking any medication. And I suppose I was holding her, like, when she said that Valium was, like, her best friend going through it, it seemed like it was a denial of, like, the choice that I made, which was to absolutely not be like so many people in prison who basically put themselves into a coma with medication to get through it.